Mexico is ways better than the United States soccer team. Now, in the next few years, if the United States just keeps dominating, then you got to give it to the U.S. that they're now the better team in the Concacaf. But look at how many years Mexico has been dominant from 1980s, or from the whole history. Mexico has been dominant till now. Like, that's the lifetime. The United States only has 2 to 4 years of somewhat of a dominant era. So for people to say that the United States is a better soccer team is like, no. Welcome back to the False Nine Podcast here with episode 149. Sorry guys for making you wait. I think a little bit over a week. It was moving. You can see we got a different backdrop, different background. I need to figure out how I'm gonna really set this up, so that's why I haven't put on the neon light on the back. But we're here with episode 149. I really just want to talk about Mexico and the Mexican soccer team versus the United States soccer team, and kind of do comparisons. Just talk about soccer, about the Mexican soccer team and how they did in the CONCACAF, and we're just going to basically review that. But I want to start off by saying a comment that another goalie made, or really Ochoa made a comment basically saying, if someone wants to take my spot, like, you got to knock on the door. It's just not going to be given to you, or, basically you got to work for it if you want it. And supposedly, like, the next protege or the next number one goalie for Mexico, he said that I don't need to knock on nobody's door. Not really liking Ochoa's comments on the next goalie coming up. And I think it's good for Ochoa to basically make that statement because, some of those goalies are probably just waiting their turn, just waiting for Ochoa to retire, get hurt or something like that, right? And he's basically to letting them know, like, it's not easy. And if you want to represent Mexico and be the number one goalie for Mexico, like, you're going to have to put in that work and you're going to have to go and get it, And I like that he said that because it's true, not just because he's getting old or whatever. Like, I get it. Some goalies may just be waiting for their turn. And I hope they don't have that mindset, which they probably do if Acevedo, or however you say his name, he had that comment to make. But I think that's where the Mexican national team, they need to be in that mindset. Like, whether it's a backup or second string or third string, whatever, like, the starter needs to be like, if you want my spot, you got to work for it and you got to take it away from me. It's just not because I'm old or the next one up in line or whatever it may be. So I'm happy they made that comment, but kind of shitty that Acevedo makes that comment. Like, I don't got to knock on nobody's door. And I'm like, bro, yes, you do. This is Ochoa, best goalie in Mexican. One of the best goalies for Mexico. In my opinion, the best. I never seen Ocampos play, so I really can't tell you that. Before we get to Mexico's run in the CONCACAF, I saw a tweet from a big Twitter account, and it basically said that Christian Pulisic the biggest star or the best player in the CONCACAF, something along those lines, whether it's the biggest star or the best player. And when I first saw that, I laughed, just because, Christian Pulisic, he's very young. Don't get me wrong. Very young, has a long road and a bright future ahead of him. I'm not a fan, but I know that, he has a bright future ahead of him. He's doing the best he can in the United States. Not the best, career in Chelsea. We'll see how he does in AC Milan. But anyways, I kind of laughed about it because I'm like, guys, you must have forgot of, the OGs or the best Mexican players that we've seen already. Where have they played, what they've won, and how they've won it, right? The first one, I'm going to start by least, I don't know how to pronounce it, like the least achievements to the most achievements. So I'm going to start by saying Andres Guardado, which, I just wanted to bring him up because he's a Mexican legend. He has 2 Dutch league titles, 2 Dutch Super Cups, a Spanish Cup, and 3 Copa Oros with Mexico. The next one I have is Ochoa, Belgian Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup, Liga MX, and 5 Copa Oros. The next one I have is Chicharito, which he has 2 Premier League titles, an English Super Cup, Copa Oro, Liga MX, and he played with United, Real Madrid, Bayer Leverkusen, West Ham, Sevilla, and now with LA Galaxy. The next one on the list is Hugo Sanchez with 5 La Liga titles, 2 Spanish Cups, 4 Spanish Super Cup, 1 Gold Cup, and 5 top goal scorer for La Liga. He won those titles with Real Madrid in La Liga. So, big deal. And the most decorated and the best Mexican player, in my opinion, is Rafa Marquez, which is 2 Champions League, Club World Cup, Super Cup, 4 Spanish. I want to say the 4 La Liga titles, 3 Spanish Cup, 1 French champion, 1 French League Cup, 2 Liga MX, 2 Copa Oros, and 1 Confederations Cup. So, with that being said, I'm not trying to hate on Christian Pulisic or take anything away from him. But for people to say that he's one of the best in the Concacaf or the best player this, best player that, there's been a lot of Mexicans who've had, not a lot, but a handful of Mexicans who had a very good European career, have won big things, who have Chicharitos played with Real Madrid, United, Hugo Sanchez played with Real Madrid, Marquez with Barcelona, and then Ochoa, a little like mid-table teams with Italy, and I forgot what the other league was that he played in. Same thing with Andres Guardado, with PSV, won the league there, then went to Spain and did good there. And now he's captain, I want to say, for Betis. So, these Mexican players have really good careers, and they've done and achieved, big things. Champions League, Premier League titles, that's really big deal, I forgot to mention Christian Pulisic's titles or achievements, I'm sorry. Again, comparing all those, Mexicans to Christian Pulisic, he has a Champions League, he has a Super Cup, FIFA World Cup, German Super Cup, and 2 Nations League. The probably my biggest kudos to him is the Champions League. Didn't really, I don't know, man. I don't want to sound like I'm hating on Christian Pulisic. I think what he does with the United States is great. In the World Cup, didn't really do much. And that's kind of where I gauge, how good are these players, when the big stage comes, and how are they going to perform? How are they going to do, right? And, Christian Pulisic performs against Mexico when, those CONCACAF teams. When you go to the World Cup, or when you were Chelsea, and you're inconsistent in the Premier League, inconsistent in the Champions League. You got a few games here, a few games, you know what I'm saying? The most consistent we've seen him was with Borussia Dortmund, and then with the United States national team. So, again, not trying to hate on this dude. He has a bright future, bright career, but I don't think he's ever going to reach anywhere near Rafa Marquez, or Hugo Sanchez. And with Chicharito, he had a really good career, and very consistent at United. He played for United and won the Premier League. So I want to say that, in my opinion, Pulisic has to win a league title and has to score a few goals to overpass Chicharito. And for Rafa Marquez, I don't think that'll ever happen because, Rafa Marquez won a lot very early on. Pulisic is kind of getting in the middle of his career. At the beginning, already kind of passed. And we've seen what he done at Chelsea. And, he's being sold now. So, and hopefully he does good at AC Milan, but we'll see. So when I saw this tweet, I was like, just no, let's stop right there, because Christian Pulisic has a long way to go, and there's been Mexicans that have achieved a lot more than he has, and maybe not as popular or whatever it may be, or the times before where there was less media or social media in general versus now. Now, let's get into let's see, what do I got here now. I do want to talk about how, you can say the rivalry between Mexico and United States. And I will admit that right now, possibly United States soccer team, the men's soccer team, is better than the Mexico's soccer team. And even though I want to say they kind of did the same results in the World Cup, again, when the highest stage comes, that's when I gauge, how good are these teams. Again, now, United States mopped the floor with Mexico, and we know that was a few weeks ago when that happened. An embarrassment, to be honest with you. So, right now, I will have to give it to the United States, and I really hope that they play soon again because I really think that this Mexican team is back in rhythm and they can really take on the United States national team. And I want to, I guess, compare their achievements because again, the United States national team, they've been good, but for like the last 4 years, you can say they're just getting the ball rolling, and Mexico's been on top and dominant for so long. So Mexico has 12 Copa Oros, biggest tournament in the Concacaf, one Confederation game. They won the Olympic gold medal in 2012. They got third place in the Olympic Games in 2020. And they got 2 U17 World Cups and 4 Pan America Games. United States, 7 Copa Oros, 2 Nations League, 1 Pan American Games, third place in 1930 World Cup. So, with that being said, again, Mexico has won the most trophies in the CONCACAF, has been the most dominant team in the CONCACAF. Now, in the last few years, I can't say that. It's been the United States, really just the last 2 years. And it's just annoying to see that, the United States are better than Mexico and this and that. This is like, if we look at history, the United States is just not better. They have a long way to go. The MLS has a long way to go as well. And now I don't think ever the MLS is going to surpass the Mexican league with like as far as the class of the game, watching the game and being like, this is great. This is good. Not saying that when you watch the Mexican league, like you're like blown away, but the style of play to me is much better in the Liga MX. And I might be biased, but I've tried watching some MLS games, playoff games, the finals games, and I just don't really care for it. And I try to watch it and I just can't. And it's hard for me to watch it. I don't know why. I just can't. I can watch the Bundesliga. I can watch the Premier League. I can watch La Liga. But I just cannot watch MLS. I can't. And I can watch Liga MX. I watch, those games when they're on a weekly basis, when the league's on. So the MLS, again, I feel like the MLS probably has more views, stream views or TV views. Or I don't know. I really don't know. But they seem more commercial. Like, I don't know. In my opinion, they're focused on numbers, views, sponsorships, commercial shit, things like that. Like, it seems like that's what they're trying to do, and that's what their business model is based off of, ad revenue or sponsorship money, things like that. Versus, I'm sure in Mexico, that's a main priority too. But I don't know. I feel like the players and the guys there, they put more on the field. The quality of the game is better. My opinion. Now, and again, this is why I still think that Liga MX is ways better than the MLS. And that's why I think Mexico is ways better than the United States soccer team. Now, in the next few years, if the United States just keeps dominating, then you got to give it to the U.S. that they're now the better team in the CONCACAF. But look at how many years Mexico has been dominant from like 1980s, or from the whole history. Mexico has been dominant till now. Like, that's the lifetime. The United States only has 2 to 4 years of somewhat of a dominant era. So for people to say that the United States is a better soccer team is like, no, maybe in the last 2 to 4 years, yeah, but we got to look at the bigger picture, man. The time frame. Another thing, the fans. The game, which was, I think, United States versus Canada for the Nations League final. That stadium was not full. Not full. And it's just like, I know I shouldn't bring this ticket sales and like, all that shit involved, but it matters to me, because if your national team is playing in the final, why aren't you going to fill up the stadium? I don't get that part, and I was like, there's so many people in the media talking about United States is better. Than fill up the stadium. Go support the United States soccer team, the men's soccer team. Like, why is it in the final that is empty? And now to switch over to Mexico's Copa Oro run, that final against Panama, that stadium was sold out. SoFi was sold out completely, And it's just like, well, why is that? I was like, bro, because it's Mexico. As much as Mexico has been performing like shit, the most like recently, like 2 to 4 years as well, the Mexican fans has been there supporting no matter what. And after the United States game, we played that third place game against Africa. I want to say it was Panama. That shit was empty, and we know why it was empty. Basically, the fans went on strike for a game. So it's another thing is the fans need to show up, and I think the fans speak for the teams. So the fans for Mexico they're ruthless, and it's 10 times the amount of United States soccer team fans, in my opinion. Now, the last thing I want to speak about is this Copa Oro tournament that we just had. And some, like Canada, United States, had their B teams or second teams, whatever you may call it, their second teams you could say. And this is the best and biggest tournament in the Concacaf, and I hate that the media is talking about why is Mexico celebrating this championship? Why are the players so happy? Like if they won the World Cup or if they beat the first team of the United States. I've seen all this bullshit. And it's so annoying because I'm like, as a Mexican fan, the performance that we had in the World Cup, and the coach, Tata Martino, and then we get Diego Coca and the bullshit that he does for the few games that he has this team, and the players that don't go to the World Cup and the players that don't go to the Nations League, things like that. And it's just like, we have been waiting and wanting to see a good Mexican soccer team, a good Mexican soccer team. That's what Mexico, as fan, that's what I've been wanting to see. And then, they fired this coach, and then this other interim coach comes in the meantime, Jimmy Lozano, or I don't know, Lamborghini, whatever you might call him. He comes in the picture and basically wins every game except against Qatar that we fucking fumbled. And we win the Copa Oro, and we won it in a dominant fashion. Every game was a dominant performance, even against Qatar. Dominant performance, outplayed the opponent. It don't matter if it was Jamaica, Canada, Panama, Qatar. I don't give a fuck who it was, but we dominated every game and every aspect of the game, whether it was passing, the movement, the mentality, the shots, the quality, everything. Mexico just dominated the tournament. And yeah, we had our first team, but that's what you expect from a first team. You expect that dominant performance. And like, it's shitty that, yeah, United States didn't bring the first team or that Canada didn't bring the first team. But, for Mexico, we needed this more than, I don't give a fuck of the weight of this tournament. We can celebrate the Nations League or Concacaf however we want to. And that's how these tournaments need to be celebrated. You go in the European, I don't want to say market, but the European tournaments, whether it's the qualifiers or those Nations Leagues or whatever tournaments they have going on, like the UEFA Europa League. Well, not the Europa League. Fuck, the Euros. They got the Euros, right? And you might say, like, oh, that's a big tournament, this and that. But that's in the UEFA, like, league or division, you may call it. And we got the CONCACAF Nations League and the Copa Oro. Like, we need to value our own tournaments. We need to value the weight of our own tournaments and really appreciate the CONCACAF. And like, yes, maybe they're not strong as South America or Europe. But if as fans and as players, we take it in a serious matter, then the CONCACAF is going to have some value against the Europeans and the South American teams. And it's so annoying that we think it's a joke, because I was like, if we want Mexico, United States, Canada, Jamaica, if we want those teams to be taken serious, we got to be taking the tournament serious as fans and the matches against each other as fans. I mean, we got to be there in support in the stadium, in the media, at home watching the game. That's what we got to do as fans. And it's so annoying to see the media, especially the Spanish media, talking about how, Mexico celebrating this tournament, Mexico this, Mexico that. It's just like, man, no. Every win counts. Every tournament counts. Because we don't get to see our national team play all the time. We get to see them play every now and then. And when there's a tournament, let's get fucking excited about it. Let's celebrate. Let's get together and put our jerseys on and watch our team play. Whether it's Mexico, United States, Jamaica, Guatemala, it don't matter, right? But man, as Guatemala fans, I'm sure like to play against Mexico, to play against United States, Canada, Jamaica, they're hyped. They're hyped. And we as fans, as Mexico fans or United States fans or Canada fans, like the dominant teams in the CONCACAF, we can't take that for granted, because look what happened against to USA against Panama. You know what I'm saying? Like, look what happened there. So, yeah, we got to support the Concacaf. We got to support the teams, and we got to celebrate every win and every tournament the best way we can, because these tournaments matter. They really do. Let's see. I think that's it. You know, next, I'm not sure. I want to say I'll be recording this weekend. So I'll have an episode for you guys. I think I should. If not, it'll be next Friday. But guys, I'm back. We're back. Clips are gonna be back. Episodes are slowly gonna get better. We gotta get back in rhythm, figure it out. So if you're a real one, I appreciate you listening, watching, streaming, liking, sharing, whatever you do. But I do appreciate it. The smallest gesture really counts, and it makes me happy. So thank you. False 9 is back. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.